Okay, so I want you to imagine a dish that basically defies everything you've ever been taught about food safety. Yeah, we're talking about raw chicken. In certain parts of Japan, this isn't some kitchen accident. It's a celebrated delicacy called Torisashi. You heard me right. Raw chicken, sliced up and served just like a fancy piece of sashimi. And I know exactly what you're thinking right now, because it has been drilled into our heads since we were kids. You do not eat raw chicken. Ever. Salmonella, Campylobacter. The list of potential horrors is long and it is very, very real. So, the big question is, how on earth can a dish like this even exist? Well, that's the delicious and kind of dangerous question we're going to get into. To really wrap your head around this, you kind of have to forget about modern foodie trends or eating something just for shock value. Torisashi is a true delicacy with some really deep cultural roots, but you're only going to find it in one very specific corner of Japan.
You're not going to walk into a restaurant in Tokyo or Kyoto and find this on the menu. Nope. This tradition belongs almost exclusively to Kagoshima and Miyazaki, two prefectures way down in the south of Japan. And that very specific location? Well, that's our first clue that this is far from your average chicken dinner.
So what is it exactly? Well, Torisashi starts with a really high-quality piece of chicken, usually the breast or maybe the inner thigh. The outside gets a super quick sear, and that step is absolutely crucial. We'll come back to that. But the inside, it stays completely raw. Then it's sliced super thin, just like fish sashimi. But a dish this unusual doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. The story behind Torisashi is actually pretty fascinating, and its roots go all the way back to the age of the samurai.
So, way back in the Edo period, the samurai from the Satsuma domain, which is now modern-day Kagoshima, used to hold cockfights to, boost warrior spirit. And local lore says that after the fights, the losing birds were prepared and eaten right there on the spot. Over hundreds of years, this pretty rugged tradition evolved. It was refined from a quick post-battle meal into this beloved local dish, and now they use special chicken breeds that are prized for their amazing flavor and texture.
Okay, so a cool history is one thing, but it doesn't change biology, which brings us right back to the biggest question of all. How is this possibly safe to eat? Well, the answer lies in a set of rules that are so strict, it's hard to imagine them happening anywhere else in the world. To make this all work, the government in Kagoshima actually created its own unique, incredibly strict set of hygiene standards just for raw chicken. And these aren't suggestions or guidelines. For any restaurant or shop that wants to sell torisashi, this is the law. So the very first line of defense happens at the microscopic level. Before a chicken can even be considered for torisashi, the meat has to go through this intense testing. It has to come back completely negative for a whole list of nasty pathogens, including the big ones we all worry about, Salmonella and Campylobacter. If it's not perfectly clean, it's out.
And the level of detail they require in the kitchen is just as intense. We're not talking about just washing the utensils. They have to be sterilized in water that's heated to over 83 degrees Celsius. The knives and cutting boards used for this chicken, they never touch anything else. And the chef's hands are meticulously disinfected before and during the process. There is absolutely no room for error.
But these rules don't just kick in when the chicken gets to the kitchen. The safety protocol is actually a complete chain of extreme care that starts long before a chef even sees the meat.
It all begins with selecting only perfectly healthy birds. Then, during the processing stage, they take extreme care to prevent any cross-contamination. That searing we talked about, that's to kill any surface bacteria. And right after that, the meat is rapidly flash-chilled and kept at a very precise, very low temperature right up until the moment it's served. It's a total system of control, from the farm all the way to your plate.
But here's what might be the most important part of this whole story. Even with this incredible system, the government is totally transparent about the risk. Every single package of torisashi that's legally sold has to carry this exact warning. It's for children, the elderly, and anyone with a compromised immune system. It's basically them saying, look, we've made this as safe as humanly possible, but the risk can never be zero. So after all that science and all those safety procedures, what's it actually like to eat? Well, the experience itself is just as traditional and carefully thought out as the preparation. The whole experience is really about texture and clean, subtle flavors. The chicken itself is surprisingly mild, and it has this incredibly tender, almost buttery texture. It's served with these classic Japanese condiments that elevate it. You get some sharp grated ginger and garlic for a little bit of a kick, a fresh shiso leaf that adds this fragrant note, and, this is key, the slightly sweet soy sauce that the Kyushu region is famous for. Every single bite is a combination designed to highlight the unique, delicate taste of the chicken.
Ultimately, Torisashi is so much more than just a shocking dish. It's this incredible meeting point where ancient tradition collides with extreme scientific rigor. And it really challenges our most basic assumptions about food, forcing us to ask, what else becomes possible when a culture decides that a flavor is worth the extraordinary effort it takes to make it safe? It's a fascinating question to chew on.